I think this is still gonna end up being a raw video, and the way that I'm not gonna be editing it, so whatever happened. Oh my goodness, I even flubbed my words at the very beginning. But essentially, I've done some homework. So in between this and the last recording. Also, you know what I didn't do, Jordan, future Jordan, and present Jordan? A thing, but that's something I need to worry about. All right, let's get back to it though. Not that we're doing that much different. I think I still want a bit more stamina and faith in this case, because faith is the highest, but still, I gotta make the decisions I want to make. That being said, I should go for a vacation. I'm not gonna take any risks, anything 50 stress or under in terms of the difference between that and my stress thresholds is probably not gonna be great. And yes, if every now and then you hear something that sounds like creaking, that's the chair beneath me, because I am big and heavy. Not really, it's just that the chair is old. Relative to, I think, how long we've had it, but hey. That being said, I have been playing Refine lately as well, just to kind of compare the two. And boy, is it certainly a lot faster. Also, here I realize that we're not actually in a summer month, but that's fine for now. What I should have done, if that was the case, was go to the mountains, because at least there I can raise my sensitivity. The most important reason to raise sensitivity, at least for me, in my opinion, in this playthrough, is so that I can set stress down to 0. But as we get well, it actually would still be important. So, just making sure of my stress. I can go to the farm twice comfortably, but I think we're gonna fail one of these farm days, but more importantly, we're gonna go to the lakes and move onward. I instinctively put my hand over to Wasid, or no, sorry, the arrow keys, because I was playing Refine, and you can't use Wasid in Refine. But that being said, Refine is a lot faster if you set to the no wait option. Again, kind of just saying it outright, but here we do spoilers on things anyway, whether it's technical stuff or lore stuff here and there, so I do want to warn people of that repeatedly as I continue onward. That being said, it's not like I know how Cube was picked up by the father anyway. Maybe he was just a servant who joined in the journey, you know, to defeat the demon lord Lucifon. But, I mean, we have Cube is serving the hero and the daughter, and the father is living in a mansion, question mark, with, like, and he gets, like, a pension of gold every October, and still has to go out to work himself. Because if I didn't already showcase it last video, I almost said stream, last video, the fact that if you choose to have the father take care of the daughter while the daughter is in her sick state, then Cube says something along the lines of, "Is that okay? That's gonna hurt our gold," and you lose 100 gold. But gameplay-wise, you get relationship with the father. Also, I said I was gonna move this setup into another setup, but it's fine. The reason why it's important for me to say that is because I see the slowdown already. So if it's slowing down for me, it's most likely slowing down for you, the viewer, and it's not you or anything else weird. It's the setup I'm using, or the game. Sorry. Because the game, although it may not be completely optimized in several areas in terms of the technical side of things, and I'm not saying this to like badmouth anyone, that like literally compared to other games, or at least to itself, or Refine, it's feature complete in terms of what it wanted to do, or what the probably decisions were made by the director. Also, what am I doing here? Attacking? I think all we can do is attack, but we want to do magic instead so that the daughter has a chance to run away, and it's probably not going to happen because we failed to run away. So, failure. I thought I had enough stamina to keep running. I just happened to RNG out right at the very tip there. For those who don't know, you can rest at that island with a good number of sensitivity, and you will reset all of your stress to 0, along with getting some cooking, something into your bit of increase to your cooking stat. I don't know why I am failing to say that, but that's essentially what was happening there. And back we go. I do need to take a trip to the mountain though, so despite the fact that I would like to lower the daughter's weight just for vanity reasons, we're gonna instead visit this so that we can be visited by the fairies when the daughter rests on the errantry. But for those who don't know, if you set your settings to no weight on Princess Maker 2 Refine, this pretty much, you don't see this at all. You get to see this part and you can pretty much click through it. Whereas in Regeneration, as you're seeing right now, you have to wait through the animations and there's no way to speed it up. So, some differences in between the two. I'm not going to say which is better because, again, that depends on player preference. But I guess you could call it a bit better that you have the option in Refine to set things fast or slow. And for whatever reason, Regeneration does not have that feature. I want to say, if I had to guess, even though I don't have really any experience with the Unity engine, because I'm 99% sure, last I checked, that's the engine that Regeneration was made in, that the method to do that in Unity is obviously going to be different than the engine they use to create Princess Maker 2 Refine. Great, I did not get to run. Well, are we going to get to run at all? Probably not. Okay, good. We did get to run, but I need to rest now. And oh my goodness, the game is so unresponsive for me right now. That's how slow I feel I'm going. So again, if the game looks a little choppy and or slow, I mean, aside from the pixel graphics / animations of this, I don't think really anything's been changed. Probably transplanted between Refine and or Regeneration based on the assets used. By that I mean, since this game was made in another engine, I can't assume that it was just a one-to-one plop code and all the assets in and put them in. I assume that the team that was working on programming the game in general have the assets that, you know, allowed the game to be made and then proceeded to do a thing. I bumped my hand on the keyboard really quickly, but we did get a visit to the fairies, and that's nice because, as you see right here, we get a bit of cooking, but more importantly, stress drops to 0, and time period-wise, that's the most efficient way, for me at least right now, to drop my stress to literally 0. No gold needed, no more than one span of time in a month, so I don't know what I want to call them. Time periods? Anywho. Well, as mentioned earlier, we're not going to be able to really defeat anything here, but the most important part is we reach this place and these places, and this place, and rest. And if I really want to, I could have the daughter... What am I trying to say? Forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, moving on. That being said, we do need morality, by the way, because that is the requirement to get the good variation of this ending. Gameplay-wise, it gives you points, but gameplay-wise, the points don't even do anything for you. They just make you feel better. I mean, you could say, hey, I'm playing Regeneration as well, Jordan, or your friend, and then you show off that, hey, I got like 1,200 points while I got this ending, and then you're like, yeah, high score. But other than that, really, I don't think there's actually an in-game use. Now, obviously... And this is just a really, you know, just to put it out there in kind of an ideal situation. You could have, you know, if this game were to get a proper remake in terms of, like, a remake, not just literally 99.99% of the gameplay repeated. Again, I don't know what the decision process was behind everything from remake to Regeneration, and even between the old game and remake. But... you could have had, like, maybe the end game points give you currency, and that currency can be used to buy, you know, cool things outside in the main menu or something like that. Or just a simple gallery buying system, but you get the point. There are a lot of ways you could take it. It's just a matter of, do you have the time and resources to do it? And when I say resources, I also include, you know, the ability to bug test, just the simple manpower of programmers being able to code things in, because again, you have to remember that if the game was made in Unity, and I feel that's the case, then yes, there are certainly things to smooth out in between, hey, I want to make this decision to put this in game if we were to make a remake of Princess Maker 2 or anything really. And whether or not it is feasible to do so, because maybe you only get 6 years to make a game, and especially if it's like even just a remake, and it's like, oh, as opposed to other games that are also making remakes, Rebirth as well, and take years to do. So, that being said, I don't know how long Regeneration was being made. But again, it also depends on the resources. You can't just look at one thing. Oh, I realize here. I think we can still push, because again, we only need to get fighting reputation to 421 plus. My little consideration here, we can't beat anything anyway, so we might as well not go and save the stress. But now I definitely want to focus on increasing the daughter's battle stats, so let's just lock in our even though we have like a day 1 save, but you get the point. If you didn't hear it before, I make saves there in case the game crashes. I really should be rolling my saves, but hey, it should be fun. 350 isn't a lot of HP, but it'll have to do, especially since I'm going to do this. Although more farm would always be helpful because strength is a strength divided by 10 modifier to your attack, as you kind of see. Plus, obviously, any attack I have, so... But the general calculation is strength divided by 10 is a modifier added to your attack. And again, to repeat, for those who don't know, martial arts does not give you any defense until it upgrades, so that's why we're doing it here, just to get innate defense. I could buy armor, but that's only going to help the daughter so much. As opposed to defense, I can just hold on to. But either way, I'm using my gold for a reason, so... We can in fact probably go, well, yeah, pretty much a full 10 months, seeing that every day doing the study. I got scared for a moment, thinking I didn't have the winter clothes. Assuming that we keep studying, we can just study until the next festival, pretty much. But probably don't have that much gold, because this is costing me minimum 900 per month, and when the cost increase, it's going to cost more. That being said, I can go pretty far, but I think about 30 to 40 defense is the bare minimum for me to go walking around. Now, for the tournament, I'm going to want more than that, certainly. Especially considering that I don't have any magic stat, and we're just going to build physical stats. But, I mean, if you want to go absolutely insane, and you have a tanky daughter with a lot of stamina, you can rush attack for a moment, which is actually what I should do. But let's get enough defense to make it seem like we're using leather armor before we build more attack. Also, a visit from Valkyria would help as well. I often say Valkyrie, that's why I stumbled there, but as we are visited, Valkyria, the Ria at the end. Again, it's often spelled that way when I look at Japanese translations to English, so that's why, again, it trips me up because I keep saying Valkyrie as if there's R-Y-I-E. R-Y-I-E? Am I spelling it right? Oh, goodness. I'm going crazy. Either way, so as I said, let's move to fencing for at least a month. But essentially, we're just trying to dump all of our money into raising the fighting reputation and the stats, but fighting reputation. And then this attack will help out as well, but I pretty much need, I think, 70 from my experience, but I don't remember for sure. We're gonna find out. I want to say 70, yeah, I want to say 70, so once we get attack to 70, we're just going to go back to defense. Because with that, after that, it's going to be a matter of getting the fight reputation up so that our daughter has a good, healthy amount of morale. For those who don't know, the higher of your fight reputation and magic reputation determines your morale in battle, and your morale in battle is essentially another form of HP. If that goes to 0, you can... For formal battles between civilized characters, that determines whether or not you lose. And out in the wild, that determines whether or not your daughter feels like running away. Which can be a good or bad thing. Again, if you're out in the field, you probably don't want to just have your HP drop to 0, which results in Cube saving your daughter, but more importantly, yeah, in battles, if I'm going to fight in the combat tournament with the daughter, then I want her morale to be somewhat high. As it is right now, yeah, that's why defense is important, because without defense, your daughter loses morale from the damage she takes, and the more damage you take, the larger the hit to your morale HP, as opposed to just general HP. Patron gods forbid that something does a critical hit to your daughter, but in any case, yeah, we can concentrate on defense for now. If we do that, we should be able to win, and then I can just add a little bit more if I buy armor from the store, but I'm probably not going to do that. It'll depend. Because I can also grab a katana as well. Basically, I don't even have any gear equipped, and my daughter can probably punch out most enemies in game. Now, she won't be able to tank anything, which is why we're visiting the martial arts class, but that's why we spent the last 2.5 years of the daughter's lifespan, from the age 10 to 12, working in the farm and working at the church, but working at the farm to get gold and increasing this the other battle stats that are used for your attack, defense, combat skill. Mainly attack and defense. Defense indirectly by way of, for those that don't know, stamina is a 1-to-1 ratio to your HP in battle. So I have 350, the daughter has 350 stamina, she has 350 HP, and when that drops to 0, Cube saves her from errantries, or you just lose the battle when you're fighting in the streets or in the tournament. As you may or may not see in a hot moment. It's also here I realize that I have not timed how long this video is going to be, but we'll go for at least 1 year, but probably 2 would be a good pace. We'll see. I'll save, by the way. The game has not crashed on me yet, but it never hurts to be certain. But as we move into the month of April, I'm going crazy. I always read this wrong because the game stops at the last day of the month, and so when you're actually planning, you're moving into the next month. But hey. So overall, all I'm doing is losing money, increasing my... So I spent 450 gold, increasing defense by 4, which is, again, good. That stays permanently unless you drop it yourself, and I don't remember if there are any other ways. I feel like there's at least 1 or 2 ways to drop defense, but not reliably. It would probably be one-offs, but we'll see. So the daughter is now 13. I want intelligence. But we do want to look at morality in the daughter's last 2 years because we do need to get... I do want to get the good ending variation of the ending I'm going for. Unless I just don't get the ending I'm going for, which would be really strange. But I can do that while I'm doing more farm and church jobs, that's perfectly fine. Because aside from the morality I'm getting from the blood type, I believe, I have to increase morality myself. So I'm saving a little often, but that's fine. I should probably start rolling my saves here just in case, though. Just in case something really weird happens, or I decide at the end of this run, especially if I mess up, that I want to go back and make a fix. But theoretically speaking, in this week of what you're watching, of when you're watching this video, I should get the run complete in a week's time. Maybe I have to overflow into the weekend for weekend videos, but future Jordan will determine that based on the pace we're going in. I promise you that if we take a lot more errantries, we will be spending more time, but 35 defense, this is not going to go well. So what am I getting? About like 10 morality per... Nope, 8 morality per. I don't think I can actually beat you, but we'll accept so we don't lose anything else, because if I refuse, I lose fighter reputation. Yeah, we're probably going to get owned here, but that's an old word I haven't used and or heard in a long time, but nonetheless, yeah, we're going to just do this, and we have 103 combat skill. You can still perfectly miss. I mean, it's... But yeah, this is the slower part of Regeneration. Also because the setup I'm using is a bit slower as well. So, barring a random crit, we're probably going to lose this battle. Just straight up, like it... Because I don't actually recall or know the way the game decides who wins. From what I've felt so far, it seems like just HP, but at times I've had less... I feel like I've seen that I've had less HP, but I've hit the enemy more, and then the game decides to give your daughter the win. But I guess we'll see here, because it's gonna take at least 10 to 20 attacks before the daughter even pushes Muscle Halver down to a low amount of HP. So yeah. That being said, I forgot what the exact... I feel like Muscle Halver is a wrestler name for those who may not know, and from my guesses, again, I don't know for certain. I've heard about it, but a lot of name references in this game are baseball players, wrestlers, and or Godzilla references. Muscle Halver certainly sounds like a wrestler name, but could be a baseball player's name, and could be a Godzilla reference. I don't know. Because I don't know. Funny enough, hey, Jordan doesn't know much about Godzilla either, even though I seem to be an anime type... Not connoisseur, what am I trying to say? Enjoyer. Unless you want to be really, really strict on me and say, Jordan, it's anime. And I'm like, no! That was something that was often a point of, not correction, but things that were said here and there. I didn't really care because if you've heard me say it before, you've heard me say it, but I'm going to say it again for those who don't know. If I'm speaking in English, usually I'm going to use the English tone, so anime, Ryu, but if I'm speaking Japanese, I will most likely switch. I mean, I haven't perfected my Japanese speaking ability anyway, even after 5+, at minimum 5+ years of Japanese. Studious Japanese, even doing a project on translating a comic, so... Or, sorry, manga. Manga. But, yeah, I haven't gone... I mean, again, we're just watching them kind of shimmy about and hit each other, but... Yeah, my Japanese experience... I should be practicing more, but at the same time, I also need to do work, because... Gotta split the time, so yeah, we absolutely get demolished here. And as you can see, the mouse cursor on screen was even going crazy, but I don't think there's anything I lose, yeah, from losing, aside from real life time, so as my youth gets sapped away by regeneration. Haha, funny pun, regeneration, but I'm losing time, but yeah. We need more defense. We need more defense, and against also, however, I probably want magic, but if I have more than enough defense, we should be fine. Which is not what I have, by the way, so... Back to a martial arts class I go. And instead, over to probably the... Not winter. The northern mountains, because we want to pick up the katana if we did not already. I was doing a few runs in Regeneration and Refine, so I actually forgot if I had already picked up the katana. Haha, Jordan doesn't really watch his own video. I do. I give him, like, usually a once pass 90% of the time. But if I'm definitely uncertain about something, or I was heavily editing a video, yeah, I'm usually going to at least watch through a video that I've made once. But I can't always do it because sometimes I'm in the middle of a game development meeting with myself, haha, because, well, that's really all you can do as a independent game dev who works on their own, but that is something on the business side of things that's interesting to do. Even if you think it's like, haha, you're by yourself, oh, what's the point? Legally, at least in America, there is a reason to, well, not legally, but in terms of running, quote-unquote, running a business, I assume, or trying to make it seem that you're serious about work, there's some way to say it. I don't think I've said it right. Whoever knows about that can correct me where needed. But yeah, there is something in that, if not for a business reason, then, well, kind of being professional and organization, at least in my opinion, to holding meetings with yourself, even if you are a lone game dev, because otherwise, how else are you going to, you know, organize everything if you need to? Some people, I don't doubt that there are people who can do everything without needing to write down documentation and whatnot, but boy, does documentation, you know, having meetings with yourself, taking down notes, absolutely help. So I try to make time pretty much every day to go over what I'm doing. Again, game dev-wise, there are other walks of life in which you can do this. In my case, game dev, writing in particular, but there are other things, you know, making videos, rendering videos, how to upload and make descriptions properly, looking online, say, for example, here specifically, the YouTube terms and guidelines and how to do things, even some guides here and there, even though you may laugh and go, haha, these might not be the most, you know, reliable places to learn advice or information. I mean, it's better than nothing. And then obviously going around in communities and, you know, asking whatnot about what is good to do, what is not good to do, what people want to see, what they are not watching, so on and so forth. In one short way on a tangent, I'm glad that YouTube analytics exists. That way I can more properly gauge what is at least fun for the audience, if not just for me. Because this channel, I mean, obviously a lot of people, at least these days, but even in the past, started their YouTube channels for the purpose of, you know, maybe seeing if something can work, especially if as it goes to making a living. But let's not put any starry ideas in anyone's mind. It is an endeavor and a roll of the, well, yeah, I guess I'll say roll of the dice. Basically, there is some luck involved in being successful on any platform, really. Especially if you're going for entertainment and we're specifically video games, but I do think there is a part on the persons themselves, whether you are a content creator or streamer, to do the content. Now, obviously, there is a degree of luck. If robots and algorithms do not work properly, but at this, well, after that, there is some responsibility on the decision makers as well. Well, because what I was going to say is timing. The timing in which you do things. I mean, the very base example is, hey, a new video game comes out. Do you have content out immediately? Whether it's just, I mean, the simple version is gameplay, but for example, when I look at videos and I look at video games, and especially those that I'm interested in, because interest and your own fun factor is a factor to making good, or just any videos at all, or streams, I look at, well, what's the current supply? A lot of it comes down to a term I just remind myself every now and then, which is supply and demand. So does this video game have this? Who has done things on this? Who has done things on this topic on this video game? That's mainly what I look like, and that's not even advice, it's kind of more just common sense. But at least some of it is business sense, knowing what may or may not be popular. Otherwise, if you just feel like making a video, obviously just make a video yourself. That will provide some experience and some factors, whether it's learning to edit a video, whether it's learning to, you know, upload a video properly in the resolution you want, whether it is, you know, you want to put out a video and see if there's any engagement, how many people are watching the video, or as I've kind of touched upon, you just want to make a video just for fun. But even then, even if you do that, whether you are conscious of it or not, you are improving your own abilities, however small it may be. Even if that is, you know, I'm putting up a video every day and it's only getting, you know, 2 views. 1, we all start from somewhere, and 2, it sets up a good precedent. I've had people ask me before, it's like, well, Jordan, how do you get started on doing things? I mean, from people who are completely not in the know, and they ask what do they do, but maybe they do have a YouTube channel, or maybe they do stream. I just say immediately, please try to be consistent, which I'm not, obviously. As you've seen me in the past, at least even 6 months, I've not been the most consistent. But at least letting people know that you're alive. I felt this the most when I went on pretty much like around a 6-month hiatus for World of War, but just my channel in general. I kind of regretted that. But those were when circumstances were out of my control, because even before that little hiatus and the other one, I think the 2 or 3 that I've had before, I was actually part of the YouTube partner program before that, but because I went on pretty much a hiatus, at least from how the robots thought, I lost that, and so I eventually got it back, because obviously I'm at 1,000 subscribers by now. But it would have been nice to continue having that, because there were, I mean, not like I was gonna make any money off of it, but and on that note, you could say, well, Jordan, if you lost it, and if you lost the, you know, partnership, even if it's on any other platform, you know, if you were a good content creator streamer, you just get it back easily. And to some extent, you're right. And which I did, so I feel like that's kind of proof in the paper, or pizza, or I don't know what the phrase is, but hey, things. So 45 defense, am I gonna be okay here? Let's find out. Now, I shouldn't really be taking battles because they make the game so long, at least on this setup. If I were recording this on another setup, I would not be dealing with this, but it's out of my control! And by the out of my control, I mean I put it out of my control, because I could have fixed this. But because I was kind of floundering around in the last 24 hours, because I was dealing with something. It's the reason why, if you didn't already see it, I'm not going to be, at least at the time of this video, streaming when I would normally stream this week. At least for one day. And so I was making sure that everything was in order, and I was, you know, switching my setup to a more proper recording and or streaming setup. Was not on my was not on a high priority in my list of things to do. Because as I've mentioned before, and I'll talk more about, I was kind of in a little meeting with myself. Because I had to... For those that don't know, I'm working on 2 games. One for an actual commercial game, but it's not going to be anything fancy. And the second one more as a free game I can play on this channel with, you know, either you the viewer, or just to play, just to kind of go through the motions and, you know, have some fun, but it is going to be a game. And obviously on itch.io specifically, you can choose to donate. I'll leave that option open. You don't have to. Please do not feel you have to support me monetarily, especially if you don't believe I deserve it for whatever reason. Whether the games that I make are bad, or you just like, oh, well, you're being greedy for money, Jordan. But I mean, to kind of fight back against it, to take another stance that I've seen before, I do think people should be monetarily compensated for hard and deserving work that they do. And I salute, fans of anything really that decide to go out of their way to make content for whatever they love, whether it's a movie, IP, TV show, video game, for absolute free. But in a lot of those cases, or at least more than a few of those cases, those people already are, they're okay at least anyway with the work that they're doing, and so they decide to go out of their way to work on a hobby or passion that they love. So, and sometimes it can evolve into something, because although I don't know the backstory of how the localization team for Regeneration in English, got to where they're at, they obviously have a strong passion for the Princess Maker in general. So, yeah. I think I was planning for my upcoming stream at the time of this video, the next stream I'm doing after this video, to be a Volcano Princess stream. I think that's probably smart, because I am on the thingy-majiggy anyway. I'm on the Raising Sim high anyway. High meaning I'm really feeling excited to play Raising Sims, while at the same time I don't have the resources to get any more Raising. I mean, that already said, Princess Maker 2 Regeneration, Refined, and Volcano Princess are holding up a lot of my time, because it's not like I'm doing other things. It's not like I am doing other things as well. I need to not use the double negative there, but you get the point. There's only so much time in a human being's life, day, so on and so forth, that you have to use. You have to divide up between, yourself, your family, if you have any, those you love, the responsibilities that you have, and then obviously, at this point, for video games. And obviously, a lot of people play video games to kind of relax and calm down, but depending on your own circumstances, you may feel that you want to do more, whether that's make a channel about video games, reviewing them, playing them, making videos about, the processes behind or decisions between based on your own professions, whether you're a doctor, farmer, game developer, programmer, director, producer, so on and so forth. We are trying to at least hit the island first, that way we can do a thing. Oops, I walked too far. I was really planning on making a little short guide, quote-unquote guide, to navigating around this, but so I will fight you, though. I think I should be able to hit you with physical attacks, or just do a crit. The game calls it a brutal attack, and I don't doubt it, but let's just call, at least in this place, let me be generic, and say it's a crit. But in the meanwhile, oh my goodness, yeah, this is a lesson to myself not to record on this setup if I'm gonna do it. I'm playing it on my own is perfectly fine, but hey. So yes, this is a technical problem. I do feel that, if you watch anyone, but really you would want to see someone involved in the team making a game, playing their own game, or streaming their own game for a while, you will see a bit of the, there will be transparency. Every time I walk on this ladder, I feel like I fight the troll always. I don't know why, even though this is probably, I think it's the only place you can actually fight that enemy. I walk up this ladder and the daughter runs into a troll. Some people never see it at all. I've seen every enemy more than, it feels normal enough where I'm like, oh yeah, I just fight them normally here. Minus maybe one or two enemies, but after that, yeah, so the game is really slowing down for me. Not much I can do about it, but, I mean, yeah, there is something I can do about it. It's not use the setup anymore when I'm recording or streaming Regeneration. Which again is a technical problem. I might as well just say it outright so that I don't forget to say it, but yes, Refine is, I feel, in my opinion at least, it definitely runs better. But I've also seen people comment on Regeneration. Well, I shouldn't say but, because I'm adding on to my statement, but I have seen reviews and or statements. Can I not run? Because I feel like trolls are harder to run and hide from, but thankfully it worked out, and so now we kind of just stand here and wait. But yeah, I have seen other comments on performance, on people's performance playing Regeneration, and yeah, they have reported. I can see it on setups that are weaker, mine included. The game will run slower, just straight up. In my case, obviously, I'm using OBS to record at up to 1080p. I don't know what the video actually looks like. When I throw this raw video on YouTube. I guess I should find out, but essentially, yeah, I also should be fighting these enemies. I don't know why I'm not, because you get more gold on average. Now my sin is increasing, but still. But yeah, if you're working with a more modern setup, you really probably won't see these issues. But again, I only have so many setups I can use to run Regeneration. I will say though, between the two, one runs it just fine while I'm streaming and recording, based on these streams and videos I've done, and the other, as you're seeing right now, is quite slow. Like, if it feels like the game time is moving a lot slower, it's because the game is slow. I can see the pixels on screen, and heck, even the mouse cursor spazzing out right here lets me know that there are some issues with the game running. Now, again, in this case, it's mostly the setup I'm using, but I feel that even game developers should be more aware of the range of things we're going. Because if you, I mean, it depends on your opinion. I would still call it mean, but there is some kind of an expectation floating out there, to some extent at least. I don't know if it's a majority, where, yeah, if you're playing video games, you should be using a modern setup, but some people are not. So, me included. And I think you've seen this in some of my videos about games that I've one-offed really quickly, where I'm also looking at like a cat right now, but anywho, in real life. But I have made comments about, yeah, you should really try to take into account, because that is a potential audience, a number of your potential audience that you're losing. I need to stop running. Why am I running away? I guess I'm trying to fight Fishman for the mermaid tier, but hey. But yeah, if you don't, I mean, you are most likely going to be losing audience or your player base, I feel. But at the same time, I understand at the same time, to push back against that there is an expectation for players to be using a setup, even though I feel that that's not exactly. Some people think it's just the right thing to just that statement in general, but at the same time, we've seen examples of pushback against this, and mainly when I say this, I mean the availability of Sony's PS5s, which it took. I think there were people around me that, when the PS5 came out, obviously everyone was looking for it. And, whether it's true or not, I don't know what the actual availability was. Whether you want to blame it on scrapers and whether you want to blame it on certain worldly situations. But the fact of the matter is, I've seen people just sitting on money that they want to use to buy a PS5. And for a few years, they could not get a PS5. So, asking developer, and how this ties into developers and expectations for setup and optimization is that, well, again, a lot of games decided to come out exclusively on the PS5 or modern systems that people didn't have, and people did not have the technological hardware to play those games in general. So it's just like, oh, we didn't sell a lot of this game. It's like, yeah, you think, when not a lot of people had it? So shrug. And it doesn't really apply to the the things I was thinking of here or talking about here. If you're to ask me on my beliefs, yes, I do believe that games should try to account. I'm being really harsh here, because I feel like some developers just don't try to compensate for not just players who would be interested in their game having not the most optimized setups. I'm not expecting you to have a 4-digit 2000 video game graphics card. I don't even know much on that note. That's how little I know, but I still have the awareness to think, okay, what if people are not using a stronger thing? Now, sometimes it's out of your hands. If you're just saying, if you're using a game engine that you have pretty much little control over that, even though that's hard to really think about, you're thinking about accessibility in the general sense. Like, I know if I am developing a game in my case, RPG Maker, there are some things I can try to do, especially when I'm deploying games, to try to make it easier on people on, weaker setups compared to other people. But there's only so much I can do with the limitations I have. Even though RPG Maker, I don't feel like it actually has. I mean, if you really want to dive into how to make the engine work for the player, there are ways you can do it, but at the same time, it's not like you have as much control as Unreal, Unity, heck, even Game Maker and Godot, where you can take steps to. It can be hard to nail. I'll say that much, but when you're looking at the risk of using certain settings. And in my case, when I'm thinking about Godot immediately when you start making a game, it asks you to use a certain OpenGL version. And so while it does take some experience to recognize what you really want, it is still on the developer themselves to think about how to optimize a game for the player. In this case, again, yeah, I'm running a weaker setup, but I'm sure there are ways to optimize this, but maybe the people making Regeneration didn't have time to make sure that the game could run well on weaker setups. Something like that. Again, I'm not saying that's the truth or things that are actually happening, but to kind of give examples of game optimization, trying to make the player experience better overall, but also that what goes on behind this, what may be going on behind the scenes. Again, I'm not attacking or defending certain positions, I'm just saying that these are things to think about on a very general scale. I know I'm not using very specific examples, and I'm not using vocab or terms that are specific to the topics I'm talking about, in this case optimization, but again, the fact of being aware, I think, is even one step that people miss a lot, even just thinking about the issues. Also, I think we would have been sitting there for 10 minutes. I'll try not to go on errand tree because, boy, this recording hurt. So I guess that's in a way, I can treat it as a challenge, but really it's a mistake on my part to not have accounted for everything. And in fact, if I decide to visit or participate in the combat festival, that's going to be a long part of this video because, as it turns out, as I just mentioned, yeah, the battles are going to be really slow. So, whoops. Yeah, if this video is up to an hour, it's going to be because I have done it to myself. So, hey, future Jordan, please remember to record the next parts, or if you're recording Regeneration at all, do it on the other setup, because this is absolutely painful for me and the viewer. For now, if I don't make this mistake again, it's fine, but if I do, I'm only hurting the viewer experience and myself. With this said, I think we have another month of, well, at least 2 martial arts things. Yeah, definitely 2. Though I should grab armor and or a weapon as well, so that's why we're gonna go visit the farm to do that. But yes, normally if you're going to be focusing, unless you miss like a lot of your Harvest Festival victories, fighting Reputation reaching 421 and above shouldn't be hard. Now, if you're trying to balance everything at a high level, like in the several or several hundreds of reputation each, then you want to be winning more contests. But in my case, we don't need to worry about that. We're only rushing 1 reputation and aiming for an ending that is less difficult in that regard, in my opinion. So, shrug. If I can get better weapons and swords, so be it, but we're probably just going to end up with the copper sword and leather armor, which we'll have to do. So, as we go into the tournament arc, literally and figuratively, or just literally, really, I'll have Anita, our future rival, sell us some armor. Oh, I wanted to hear the whole thing. I clicked through that, but hey. And then, you know what, just for an extra oomph, we'll grab a... Did I not grab the katana, by the way? Hold on. Now I'm just curious. I did grab it, didn't I? I remember grabbing it, yeah. So we might as well. We got it for pretty much free. I still am holding on to a spirit ring, which I forgot to give to the thingy. So, hey, I should have checked the... Should have checked my inventory, but hey, record the time and let's go. But yes, this is going to be another long part of the video because, as I just mentioned, and as you've seen by now or listened to by now, the game's running slow because of my setup, so woof. In the meanwhile, as we wait for this combat tournament, we are dealing with 350 morality, and we need at least 600 plus, I believe. So, as we move into the combat tournament, gotta keep in mind that we can get up to like 30 morality a month with the power of church spamming, but that's going to be after we guarantee the hero ending, which should be, again, once we get defense and win probably only once in the combat tournament, we should be fine to do, but yeah. Let's see, who am I up against, daughter asked. The game narrates Salam Nasir. And let's see what happens. Funny enough, this magic defense is more than good enough as my mouse cursor slows down and makes me sad. But if you can win just 1 or 2 battles, that would be good enough already. Any amount of money will help, but optimally, ideally, I want the daughter to win the whole tournament. But if Muscle Oliver goes through, we may not have enough to survive it. 67 defense, especially if we get crit. If the daughter gets crit, we can possibly lose. But as every other enemy, our daughter should be able to beat somewhat reliably. Again, random crit here and there, even Mia is afraid, or even we are afraid of Maria. Anywho. So we're keeping an eye on Muscle Oliver. At least we'll make it to the finals, theoretically speaking. Because all of these 3 remaining combatants on the right side of the bracket are not troublesome. Well, Don Leo Jonathan, I think, is a full, like, physical meathead stat. Well, yeah, so he's a mini Muscle Oliver, but we have more than enough attack and more than enough defense, so if I wanted to beat Muscle Oliver more reliably, assuming that I'm Get Lucky, I could... No, wait, that's right. There's no version of Faison for a combat skill attack and defense. The Valkyria decides not to do it. Again, maybe the creators really love Madame Faye, but the Valkyria doesn't provide you with a choice of bonus if you do 3 simultaneous. I feel like she does, though, at some point, but maybe I'm wrong. At least I've run into it less than Madame Faye. Madame Faye's is easier to proc because it doesn't matter how high or low your stats seem to be. If you do 3 magic studies in a month, Madame Faye will visit you, and as we fight Damu Damu, that's actually good for us. I think Damu Damu is one of the few who can beat Muscle Oliver somewhat reliably, but usually it's Muscle Oliver. But yeah, 3 magic classes in a month will have Madame Faye visit you, giving you the choice of increasing any one of your 3 magic stats. I used to take Magic Attack, but if I'm feeling more like I'm not going to be lucky, I take Skill. But oftentimes I take Magic Attack when Madame Faye asks, "Oh my goodness, you got crit into the ground. You are not the type of enemy that can fight, daughter." Olive Yusha. Yusha's not often... I mean, I fail to think of any example of that being a last name for any... in Japanese in general. But any language, really. But anywho. Yeah, you're not going to have a fight. As it turns out, at least here, for enemies that the daughter can fight, being well-rounded often doesn't help, unless you're well-rounded and you have like 800 in every stat. Then we get scared, which is what we might see when we fight Anita later on, but thankfully I don't need to worry about that, because, yeah, this video is not going to go over that. And when I say worry about it, I actually more mean the technical side, where we're just sitting here watching the daughter and Anita walk back and forth, shimmying until one hits the other. Oftentimes, in my experience, fights with the rival can go down to time, but if you decide to fully optimize, it can also just go really well, especially early on when your rival is first introduced. But for the moment, here, we don't need the Royal Sword. Well, I think we're perfectly fine with the Katana combat. They both start with the Ko-Ka syllable, but hey, as we get visited by Valkyria again. Valkyria. No, but oftentimes in Japanese, at least again from my observations and experience, you don't often hear the ba used to describe the English Western va or v syllables. They often just use you when I look at games in Japanese. But hey, I don't know why, just randomly, I'm just gonna say this out of nowhere, but I'm thinking of Ever 17, the visual novel. I know that was really random to say, but it is what's happening here. So I think I can kind of, if I want to make this video quicker, I can just shimmy off in jobs here. Especially since I just said that I needed the morality, so if the daughter's stress level reaches a high value, we can just, do church jobs until the daughter's 14th birthday, which is probably when this, or most likely when this video is going to end. But yes, we do need morality to increase anyway. I think this is the most stable way to increase morality, because boy are there several easy ways to lower morality. Also, I think there is, I think in terms of game knowledge, I think I know the less about the marriage system in terms of special marriages in Princess Maker 2 specifically. So when it comes to that, yeah. And it's, as proof of point, I don't even have the achievements both in Refine and or Regeneration for really any of the marriages. I'd have to check again, but I'm pretty sure that if I were to look right now, I'd put money on me not having any achievements on marriages, on marriage types in both Refine and Regeneration. So that should clue you in as to how little I know about that. But if it has to do with numbers and calculations, I'm most likely to know about that if the World of Horror combat tutorial video was not any indicator already. I do like math. I think math was and still is my favorite subject, school-wise or in terms of the sciences. But I think right up there is biology and to some extent philosophy. But that's a whole other issue. So as we smack our next challenging opponent in these streets, we should be able to beat Tao Lanfang easily. Cao Lanfang? Oh my goodness, my Chinese pronunciation. Anywho, yeah, we'll be able to reach the hero. Like, if we somehow bumble the next 4 months, that would be really weird. If I were to calculate right now, assuming we only get, say, even 26 morality a month if we do a full church working, I would say we get more, so we'll say 27. So 27 times 12, 324 morality every year. So yeah, with the one good year of church visits or church job working, I'm not phrasing my words right, but you get the point. Our morality will be 600 morality plus, which should be the requirement for what I'm going for this series. Again, I've had this all calculated out, so at this point you might be going, well, Jordan, what's the point of doing a series if you are just, if you're playing with what you know to be correct? Well, I don't presume to be the person who can plan things out meticulously and have things go to plan. So I think there's an aspect of, hey, I want to go through it anyway just to make sure things work, but obviously I want to make a video just because making videos is fun anyway. There are reasons for it. Off the top of my head, I can't really articulate what I'm trying to express, but you get the point by now. Also, we need to take Kung Fu classes, so that would be good to do. But yeah, if I calculated things right, even if we only get, say, like 20 morality every month, with a full month of working at the church, or Sister Lee here, again, we'll have like 240 morality after a year's time, so we should be perfectly fine. But nonetheless, increasing the stress threshold for delinquency for our daughter would be really cool. And that being said, I should make a mental note to just switch the daughter back to her. You can switch it pretty much immediately when the game changes her clothes due to seasonal events, but I just choose not to in case there's anything weird, but there shouldn't be though, so we should be free to do this. I need to give the spirit ring to the thing, but we will do that in the next video. So off we go, increasing defense. At this point, we should be able to nearly reliably beat the Ward God once we get our defense to 90, 95 plus, by the way. I'm not going to presume to know the exact threshold, but I'm mostly worried about the daughter's morale. You don't want to have your daughter running away. At the same time, one bad crit against the daughter will lose against the Ward God, so maybe some more stamina is needed. And when I say maybe, I actually mean I likely need it. That's not it. But the defense does provide a very, very strong form of mitigation for damage. Which is why, if you look at any strats guides or otherwise, the game people usually recommend that you increase defense to 90 plus. But as high as you can get plus armor would help as well. So 100 defense plus your daughter's born defense and any armor should protect you for the most part. And if I unequip the leather armor, well, if I equip the leather armor, I should be. In fact, I'm just gonna go buy it now. That way I don't forget. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna be picky and try to get Anita to sell it to us. If for nothing, no other reason than to get more footage of her lines when we buy the mithril armor. So with my limited, if I were to go big monkey brain brute force, I just hear Sugoku-i and Psycho, meaning great, and, well, best, really, but if we're being really simple with it, yeah, mithril armor. Because of all the ones in between leather armor and mithril armor, lower your stats. Not that it really should affect you, but hey. For some reason, I feel like when you equip armor and then you try to increase defense, your defense does not increase through the martial arts class, but I think I'm wrong about that. Let's find out. I'm even gonna quote-unquote waste money if that is the case, but we're gonna head back to working on the farm really quickly here. And then the next video, we're probably gonna start off with an errantry, but hey, for the moment, let's get through this month first. I think we have, yeah, pretty much a month and a half left of this video. And she couldn't concentrate on studying because our stress is rising through the roof. Our defense increased by 1! Spent 480 gold to increase defense by 1. So yeah, I think I do need to unequip the thing. I feel like it. That shouldn't be the case though. I feel like how the game calculates your defense in total, or decides to increase it, is that it's looking at a training value of defense and decides, okay, as long as it's not, you haven't reached your cap, you increase. Because it's not like, again, it's not like it's looking at your defense stat to determine whether or not it increases through the martial arts class. If I were to speak in more technical game dev terms or design terms. But again, we'll find out. The fact that I'm failing classes does not feel good to me though, but we'll deal with it. So we have more than enough sensitivity with the spirit of this visit of the fairy. I said it right, but I'm going crazy. And I guess just to make this month quick, we will do this. So right after this month, yeah, if you want to support me or, you know, this channel, you know what to do, subscribing, commenting, liking, all that stuff. But as we finish off this month, we should be set to go. My question for the rest of the series is, are we going to be able to beat Anita back-to-back? Because we're getting her as a rival pretty soon, so I guess that's going to be one of the most, if not the most exciting parts of the series, in my mind. Because if you didn't know, really quickly here, if you're listening to this still, yeah, your rival scales every year in terms of how strong they get. So the farther you go and the less training you do, the farther you're going to be left behind. Now, the game assumes you're probably going not, you know, probably is not assuming that your daughter has full or near full max stats at by the age of 14, but you know, we'll grab a book, just why not? Just in case we want to hide and or flee during errantries, unless intelligence actually doesn't affect you there. But from what I've looked into, intelligence affects your chance to hide from enemies and not fight, and then stamina should affect, well, both, I should say the word should, but stamina should affect your chances to run from an enemy without fighting them. But again, that's just based on what I've read, really. I feel that's the case, but as we end this video really quickly here, yeah, we'll get to the end screen, and, you know, if you have any suggestions, the next run should be a Demon Lord run, just to show it off. I know I put out that video about the highlight of the end of the run, but I mean, going through a proper run, or not Demon Lord, I think boss, but essentially I'm thinking of things. So if you have anything to say or suggest, you know what to do. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!